Good morning friends, welcome back to 14th week lecture. Before going into the details, let us look at the highlights of the week. The first and the foremost issue is Supreme Court stays trial court order summoning the former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. The conference of Chief Justices of High Court, which was held during the Good Friday weekend, created little bit of controversy. The other important aspect is on the restructuring of railways. Bibek Debroy panel giving report stating that railway infrastructure company is to be established. The other one, Saudi Arabia airstrikes in Yemen, Operation Rahat, evacuation of Indians safely. Muhammad Buhari wins the Nigerian elections. Other important aspect is the details of Silk Route announced by China. Iran and world powers signing the nuclear pact, a milestone in the history of world relations. Then terror attack by Al-Shabaab militants in Kenya, 147, most of them students killed in Garissa University in Kenya. When it comes to economy, new trade policy for 5 years 2015 to 2020 announced, which facilitates the India's share in global trade to rise from 2% to 3.5% by 2020, and Reserve Bank of India completes 80 years of its existence, which was formed in the year 1935. Last but not the least is ICC President Mustafa Kamal resigns. So let us look at these issues one by one. The first issue with regard to the issue of a summons by trial court, we are all well aware with regard to the allotment of Talabira coal mine in Odisha, trial court, CBI trial court, a few days back summoned Dr. Manmohan Singh to attend the court on April 8th. Meanwhile, Dr. Manmohan Singh approached Supreme Court, and Supreme Court now granted stay on the summons issued by the trial court to former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and 5 others by the trial court. And Supreme Court also stayed the proceedings in the case relating to the decision taken by Dr. Manmohan Singh to allocate Talabira coal block in Odisha. The counsel for Dr. Manmohan Singh, Kapil Sibal, represented that the decision was taken in public interest and it is not apt to attribute a criminal conspiracy to administrative decision. Based on the arguments of the counsel for Dr. Manmohan Singh, the Supreme Court bench comprising Justice Gopal Gowda and Nagappan stayed the summons issued by trial court. Now, Dr. Manmohan Singh need not appear before the trial court. Right friends, look at the next one. Criminal trials will be completed in 5 years. The Conference of Chief Justices of 24 High Courts was held during the weekend of Good Friday. Subsequently, on the following Sunday, the joint conference of Chief Justices of 24 High Courts as well as Chief Ministers was held, and the Prime Minister, addressing the conference of Chief Justices as well as Chief Ministers, stated that the outdated laws are contributing to the backlog of cases in courts. That means the laws are outdated. There is a need for reviewing these outdated laws. That is the version of the Prime Minister, and at the same time the Prime Minister expressed his unhappiness over the functioning of tribunals. There are several tribunals in the country and the functioning is not satisfactory. So, Prime Minister expressed his unhappiness over the functioning of tribunals in the country, and at the same time the Chief Justice of India stated that criminal trials will be completed in 5 years' time. Now, there are several criminal cases pending in high courts for several years, running into 20 years, 30 years. Now the Chief Justice of India stated that criminal trials will be completed in 5 years, and at present 2.64 crore cases are pending in subordinate courts and 42 lakh cases are pending in high courts. The Conference of Chief Justices is not without controversy. The Conference of Chief Justices as well as the Joint Conference of Chief Justices and Chief Ministers was held during the Good Friday weekend, and several Christian associations expressed their unhappiness of conducting this conference during the Good Friday weekend, and one of the Supreme Court judges stated that kindly show equal importance and respect to the sacred days of all religions. One of the Supreme Court judge, Kurian Joseph, stated that kindly show equal importance and respect to the sacred days of all religions. In response to this statement, the Chief Justice of the country said that in the previous occasions, the conference was held on holidays, on Valmiki Day, on Independence Day and on Good Friday. So, the issue settled with these observations. Let us move on to the next issue. Babri Masjid panel on restructuring of railways. Railways, there is a paradigm shift in the presentation of budget by the Railway Minister Suresh Prabhakar Prabhu, and in the railway budget, the Railway Minister announced that 8.5 lakh crores will be spent during the next 5 years on capacity augmentation. On capacity augmentation, rupees 8.5 lakh crore will be sent during the next 5 years, and to restructure railways, a committee was established. The committee was headed by Babri, and recently they submitted its report. The report clearly states that railway infrastructure company is required to be set up. That means to take up new projects, new lines, doubling of lines, a new railway infrastructure company is to be set up. The second important recommendation is railway regulatory authority is required to be set up to regulate the railway operations. You see, for regulating telecom operations, there is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. For regulating banking operations, there is Reserve Bank of India. For regulating insurance business, there is Insurance Regulatory Development Authority. But for regulating railways, there is no such authority. Now, Babri Masjid panel recommended Railway Regulatory Authority, and for operating railways, separate train operations company is also required to be established. That means it has gone for corporatization of railways on functional lines. That means for constructing new lines, railway infrastructure company; for operating railways, train operations company; for regulating railway business, it is Railway Regulatory Authority. So, now Babri Masjid panel came up with these historic recommendations, and let us see how the Railway Ministry will go ahead for implementing these recommendations. Friends, move on to the next one. Supreme Court sought responses of L.K. Advani and 19 others in connection with the Babri Masjid demolition case. Very old case. Babri Masjid was demolished on 6th December 1992 almost 23 years ago. Subsequent to the demolition of Babri Masjid, CBI filed a charge sheet on Shri L.K. Advani and 20 others on charges of conspiracy and inflammatory speeches. On charges of conspiracy and inflammatory speeches. Subsequently, in the year 2001, trial court directed dropping of these charges on L.K. Advani and 20 others. And this decision was also upheld by Allahabad High Court in the year 2010. But in the year 2011, CBI moved Supreme Court against the verdict. And now, based on a petition filed, Supreme Court sought the responses of L.K. Advani and 19 others, as Mr. Bal Thackeray is no more. That means Supreme Court sought the responses of L.K. Advani and 19 others in connection with the demolition of Babri Masjid. World events, unfortunate things are happening in Yemen. During the past several weeks, we were discussing about terrorist activities, we were discussing about civil strife in Yemen. There were Houthi rebels who occupied presidential palace in Sana'a. Subsequently, the president of the country fled to the southern city of Aden. When Houthis came to Aden, then the president left the country and escaped to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Subsequently, he sought the help of Saudi Arabia. I would like to explain you once again. Yemen is into civil war. One side there is government, the other side Houthi rebels. They are fighting one with the other. The president of the country, Mansoor Hadi, fled to Saudi Arabia, sought the help of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, in response, started airstrikes on Houthis. And because of the civil war which is taking place in Yemen, the safety of the residents is in question, and almost 4,500 Indians who were stranded, who were working as nurses and in some other occupations, have been rescued by the Indian operation. Before going into that, let us look at exactly the problem in Yemen. Yemen is one side Saudi Arabia towards northwest as well as northern side, bordered by Saudi Arabia, northeast side Oman, one side it is Gulf of Aden, other side it is the Red Sea. This country is into civil war, Houthi rebels directly fighting with the government forces, and based on the request made by the President Mansoor Hadi, Saudi Arabia led by 9 other nations started attacking Houthis in Yemen. Saudi Arabia, supported by 9 other nations, started attacking Houthis, and civil war is on in the country. And as per the news reports, Houthis are reportedly supported by Iran, and Saudi Arabia is supporting the government, and this led to intense fight within the country, and several civilians are losing their lives in this fight. And under these circumstances, India started safe evacuation of almost 4,500 Indians trapped inside Yemen. And let us look at the operation of India. The name of the operation is Operation Rahat. Please don't forget, Operation Rahat is the operation started by Indian authorities. The Indian operation of rescuing the citizens from Yemen was looked after by Indian Minister of State for Overseas Indian Affairs, Shri V.K. Singh. He camped in the neighboring country of Djibouti. Djibouti is the neighboring country to Yemen, Djibouti is in Africa. Minister of State for Indian Overseas Affairs camped in Djibouti to oversee the operations, and India evacuated by whatever means possible, by air, by naval ships, by passenger ships from Yemen. Not only Indians, India also evacuated several nationals from Yemen, and the operation of India, that is Operation Rahat, was applauded by several countries. Right? Look at the next issue. Nigerian elections. It is towards the west of Africa. Nigeria, with a population of around 17 crore people, is the most populous country in Africa. North of Nigeria is inhabited by mostly Muslims. South of Nigeria is inhabited by mostly Christians. And in the elections held, Muhammad Buhari elected as the president, and the existing incumbent Goodluck Jonathan lost the elections. Shri Buhari got around 15 million votes against 13 million votes by Mr. Jonathan, and it is the peaceful transformation in the African country, because transition of governments in Africa is not that easy, but in Nigeria it is the most peaceful transition of one government to another government, and from May 29th onwards, Mr. Muhammad Buhari will be the president of Nigeria. And I would like to tell you one more thing, that Boko Haram is the organization which is active towards the northeastern part of the region. Please don't forget, right? Look into the next one. China unveiled a map of Silk Road. What is Silk Road? It is nothing but connecting various places by road and by sea. One is called Silk Road, the other one is called Maritime Silk Road. China is unveiling two projects which will have wider ramifications in future. One is the Silk Road project by road, which is known as Silk Road Economic Belt. You can see in this picture, all the red lines are road projects, all the blue lines are Maritime Silk Road projects, and this way China wants to liberalize the trade from one end to the other end, basically connecting China towards the European countries through Central Asia. That's the main goal, to have free trade region right from China right up to European Union, crisscrossing Central Asian countries as well as Gulf countries. That means to have seamless connectivity for transportation of goods from one end of the continent to other end. That is the main goal of China. So this way China wants to establish their supremacy in the region, and I would like to tell you, this is the ambitious project of China, and as per the Chinese vision document, this will benefit 4.4 billion people. Please remember, in the world there are around 7.5 billion people, and out of 7.5 billion people, this will affect 4.4 billion people and will generate a trade of around $2.5 trillion. Right? Let us look at the next one. Iran and world powers sign the nuclear pact. A historic moment. In fact, 12 years of negotiations finally ended with some agreement with Iran. What exactly is this? We are going to discuss for a few minutes. Iran and world powers sign nuclear pact. What are these world powers? There are 6 nations, sometimes referred to as P5+1, sometimes referred to as E3+3. These 6 powers, when they are referred to as P5+1, it means 5 permanent members of United Nations plus Germany. What are the permanent members of United Nations? The 5 permanent members of United Nations are United States of America, United Kingdom, France, Russia and China. These 5 are permanent members of United Nations. Along with these 5 countries, the 6th country is Germany. So, the 6 countries who participated in this agreement are known as P5+1. They are also called by E3+3. E3 means European Union nations, 3 nations. What are they? United Kingdom, Germany and France. What are the other 3 nations? United States of America, China and Russia. So, the 6 countries which participated in this Iran nuclear talks are known as P5+1 or E3+3. Please don't forget these, and let us look into the actual issue. There were apprehensions all over the world for several years that Iran is enriching uranium to weapons grade. That means Iran is in a position to produce atomic weapons. Normally, uranium is to be used for production of energy, for civilian use, not for production of atomic weapons. But all over the world there is a perception that Iran is going to manufacture atomic weapons. Now, agreement was reached on 3 issues. I would like to discuss one by one. First and the foremost is Iran will limit its enrichment of uranium to less than 4%. Iran will limit enrichment of uranium to less than 4%. What is enrichment of uranium? Please look into this picture. Natural uranium, which is naturally occurred, will have more than 99% of U-238 isotope. Only 0.7% is U-235 isotope. 99% is U-238 isotope. Only 0.7% is U-235 isotope. But for producing nuclear energy, U-235 is required around 3 to 5%, and to produce atomic weapons, U-235 is required more than 80%. The process of increasing U-235 is known as enrichment. When some country is enriching uranium to 90%, that means their interest is atomic weapons. When some country is enriching U-235 to 4%, their intention is nuclear energy for civilian use. In the world over, there is a apprehension that Iran is enriching uranium to atomic grade. Now the agreement signed is on 3 counts. First and foremost thing is Iran will enrich their uranium to less than 4%, that is for production of nuclear energy only. Second thing is Iran will restrict the use of centrifuges. What is centrifuge? Please look into this picture. Centrifuge is basically used for enriching uranium. There is an apprehension that Iran has many centrifuges. Now, as per the agreement, there will be restriction in the number of centrifuges also. First and the foremost is Iran will enrich uranium to less than 4%. The second thing is Iran will restrict the usage of centrifuges which are used for enriching uranium. And the third and the most important issue is all these installations will be open for inspection by International Atomic Energy Agency based in Vienna in Austria. That means Iran will arrange for inspection by international agency. That means nothing will be hidden. So these three issues were resolved. A comprehensive agreement is going to be signed by June 30. And all the details will be known when the final agreement is signed by June 30, and these three issues were solved, and at the same time Western countries will lift economic sanctions against Iran as Iran agreed to these conditions. So this is all about the nuclear agreement with Iran by world powers. I think it is going to be beneficial for world as a whole, right? Let us move on to the next issue. Terror attack in Kenya. Kenya Garissa University College, which is situated in the northeastern region of Kenya. The border of Somalia is just 150 kilometers, and Al-Shabaab is the organization which is active in Somalia. Al-Shabaab is the terrorist organization of Somalia. They came and attacked 147 students in this university, Garissa University campus. The unfortunate event is they separated students of one particular religion and shot dead others. Right? Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for this. Please don't forget, Al-Shabaab is the terrorist organization active in Somalia. Friends, look at the next one. When it comes to economy and banking, new trade policy was announced. Trade policy, what is trade policy? Exports, how to improve my exports. Every country's goal is increase exports, reduce imports. Goal of any country is increase exports, reduce imports. To facilitate exports, trade policy was unveiled. And here I would like to tell you 3-4 points. First and the foremost point is, by 2020, India's export should reach $900 billion. If you talk in rupee terms, $1 billion means 6,000 crores or 6,200 crores. India's exports by the year 2020 will be $900 billion. You may ask a question, what are present exports? At present, our exports stand at around 450 to 460 billion dollars. 450 to 460 billion dollars. Exports means two categories. Please don't forget. One is goods exports. The other one is services exports. Goods exports at present are around $314 billion. Services exports are around $150 billion, which makes around $460 billion. So, Government of India wants to double the exports by 2020. The present level of roughly $450 to $460 billion will go to $900 billion by 2020. The second important aspect is, for exports, there will be incentives given by the government. Government will give incentives for exports ranging from 2%, 3% and 5%. And last important aspect is India's share in global trade. At present, our share in global trade is just 2%. In the global scenario of exports and imports, our share is only 2%. Our population is almost 17% of the world population, but our share in world trade is just 2%. Government of India wants to make it 3.5% by 2020. So, these three are important aspects of this new trade policy unveiled by the Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, Nirmala Sitharaman, recently. Friends, Reserve Bank of India completed 80 years You all very well know, Reserve Bank of India, based on the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934, was established in the year 1935, started functioning from April 1, 1935. Please don't forget, Reserve Bank of India was nationalized in the year 1949. Reserve Bank of India started its functioning from April 1, 1935, but got nationalized from 1st January 1949. In view of completion of 80 years, recently a function was held and the Prime Minister attended the function. Prime Minister called upon the people with regard to two things. One thing is, please devise innovative financial instruments. Second thing is, please come out with the 20 years roadmap for deepening financial inclusion. What is financial inclusion? Financial inclusion is nothing but bringing the people to the framework of financial organizations. Recently, under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, 14 crore accounts were opened. This is financial inclusion. But what is the deepening of financial inclusion? When they are able to get loan, when they are able to get insurance products, that is deepening. Just opening bank account is financial inclusion, but deepening financial inclusion is they should have access to loan products, they should have access to insurance products, people should have access to pension products. Then only it is treated as deepening financial inclusion. So the Prime Minister called upon the Reserve Bank to come out with 20 years roadmap to deepen financial inclusion. Right? Let us look at the next one. The Finance Minister says, sell non-core business and stand on your own. Ultimately, it appears government is not happy with the functioning of public sector banks. Government is not happy with the functioning of public sector bank. Recently, the Finance Minister advised the public sector banks to sell non-core business like mutual funds, insurance, investment banking. Please come out of all these things. Stand on your own. That means we are not going to support you much. You have to depend on your own resources. This comment is pertinent because most of the public sector banks have lot of gross non-performing assets, or in layman words, most of the public sector banks have bad debts. That means people have taken loans, they are not paying back. Most of them are corporates. Under these circumstances, the comments of the Finance Minister are relevant in view of the gross non-performing assets of public sector banks. Look at this point. Capital support from center to public sector banks declining sharply. What is capital support? Banks require money for expansion. When they are giving more loans, they should have more capital. That is called capital adequacy ratio. When banks are giving more loans, they should have more capital. This is known as capital adequacy ratio. That means when banks want to give more loan, they should have more capital. But Finance Minister stated, we are not going to support you much. Please stand on your own. You can see from this chart, capital support from government is declining sharply. In the year 2012-13, government gave 12,000 crores. In the year 13-14, government gave 14,000 crores. But came down to 7,000 crores last year, and this year the budgetary allotment is 7,940 crores. Please don't forget, for capitalization of banks, this year's budget is 7,940 crores for 2015-16. That means the clear message sent by the Finance Minister is, friends, please stand on your own. We are not going to support you because you are not performing well. Friends, look at the next one. China's Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank AIIB, we have already discussed about this in the previous classes. Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, touted to be the rival for World Bank and Asian Development Bank. There is immense support from Western powers, which is not palatable for America. America is not happy with the development, as several friendly countries to America like Australia, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Egypt decided to join AIIB with the ambitious plan of Silk Route. With the establishment of AIIB, China wants to establish their supremacy, and which is not palatable for America. Right, this bank is going to be started somewhere during the second week of April. We discuss in detail subsequently, but most important point is several Western powers decided to join AIIB because already such institutions exist. One is Asian Development Bank, other one is World Bank. But the biggest comment of this World Bank and ADB is, when they give loan, they give several restrictions. Please reduce subsidies, please reduce consumption expenditure. When they give loan, at the same time, they also stipulate several conditions for the governments. Please reduce expenditure, please reduce your subsidy, please reduce consumption expenditure. All these things, several conditions are put forth by World Bank and ADB. That's why several Western powers are also not happy with the development. So anyhow, America is not happy with the development. Let us move on to the next one. Finally, sports. ICC President Mustafa Kamal resigns. Mustafa Kamal from Bangladesh. He is the Planning Minister of Bangladesh. President of ICC. ICC, please don't forget, ICC headquarters in Dubai. Mustafa Kamal criticized the umpiring decision subsequent to Bangladesh loss to India in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. ICC Chief Executive Dave Richardson immediately sought apology, but Mustafa Kamal refused to give apology, and finally ICC Chairman N. Srinivasan gave away the trophy to the World Cup winners Australia, and finally now Mustafa Kamal resigned. Friends, look at the last one of this week. Malaysia Open Badminton. China's Chen Long won the men's singles title, and Carolina Marin of Spain won the women's singles title. India's Saina Nehwal lost the match in semi-finals. Right? With this, let us conclude lecture part. Please do join for question and answer sessions. Have a nice day. Thank you.